you have to have the big picture as being the one who plans the future of your company. You have to have a very detailed idea on where you are right now, because you can't start planning for the future if you don't know where you are right now.
Hey everyone, it's me again, Jay Christ, and welcome to another episode of the Design Life Show. And we are now on episode 56 of the podcast, and I'm super excited for this week's episode because I'm chatting with Edward Solicito. Edward is the Chief Executive Officer of Kezar Innovations, founded in April 2018. Kezar Innovation is a Filipino design and development firm that transforms innovative ideas into profitable businesses through its strong network of innovators, designers, engineers, businessmen, and investors. In this week's episode, we talk about his ground-up stories, how he was able to turn his innovative ideas into a profitable business, the biggest mistakes that you should avoid on starting a startup business, and practical advice on how to change your mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset, and a step-by-step guide on starting your own venture today, and much more. So make sure to stick around until the end, and hopefully you'll enjoy this episode as much as I do, and at least learn at least one or two from this episode. And let me know if you love this episode by subscribing or by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. In that way, you are helping me to reach more people. And don't forget to go to the website, thedesignlifeshow.com. That's thedesignlifeshow.com. Alright, that's it. So let's go jump into this week's episode. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this episode. You're listening to The Design Life Show, a podcast that's helping everyone grow to live a meaningful and creative life. It's me, Jay Christ, a designer from the Philippines, best known for being an advocate of essentialism and optimism. I'm sitting down with awesome people to talk about their journey, their process, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Hey everyone, welcome again to the podcast TDLS, and I'm here right now with Edward Solicito. So basically, I think you will learn a lot of great stuff here in this podcast episodes. Hopefully, at least one or two on this podcast episode. So I'm super excited, to sit down with Edward as well. And Edward, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Excited to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to have you on the show. So, just to give context in these episodes, for those who would like to know or don't know about you or what your business or your current background, can you share a little bit about your personal life or what are you doing right now?
Okay, so I'm Edward Solicito. I'm the current Chief Executive Officer of Kezar Innovations. So Kezar Innovations is a Filipino startup. We are a Filipino design and development firm that transforms innovative ideas into profitable businesses. So what we have is a strong network of innovators, designers, engineers, businessmen, and investors. So technically anything that a Filipino entrepreneur might need, we actually have it within our ecosystem.
Yeah, that's amazing. So basically that's what are you doing now? Edward, can you share a little bit about your journey before then? Are you what's the motivation behind building this business? And then is it really your passion to be an entrepreneur since then, or can you share a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, so I am a graduate of a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering. So I'm an engineer by profession. And the thing that engineers actually has is that discipline to actually create new processes, better designs, and that's one thing that you really need when it comes to creating new products and new services. Now, after my industrial engineering program, I now enrolled in the AIM's Master of Science in Innovation and Business. So MSIB is one of AIM's newest programs. They just launched in 2017, 2017. So we were part of the pioneer batch. The goal of the MSIB program was to actually the goal of the MSIB program is to put those tech adept individuals, those engineers, those innovators, those inventors, and then give them the business acumen that they need so that they can turn those ideas and create ventures out of it. So AIM, Asian Institute of Management, being one of the best business schools in Asia, they are actually one of the perfect incubators for such individuals. So we graduated last December 2017 after a 1-year program. So the good thing about that program is before you graduate, you actually have to create a startup and then propose it in front of investors. So even before graduating then, our startup, Kezar Innovations and Study Play and Tracaro was already fully funded.
Wow.
So that was the reason why a lot of investors supported us then, our professors as well. That's the reason why we created Kezar Innovations to consolidate our resources, to be able to supply all the necessary competencies, and at the same time to spread out the costs. So we launched Kezar Innovations last March of 2000. We incorporated Kezar Innovations in Singapore last March of 2017 in Singapore. March of 2018 in Singapore, and then we launched it April 7 of 2018 here in the Philippines, and we're about to celebrate our 1-year anniversary.
Wow. Congrats, man!
Thank you very much. Yeah,
that's amazing. You know, I feel that the journey is really amazing, and it's cool to look back on that as well. And I'm just curious, Edward, what's your experience growing up as a young or as a average kid? Can you share your experience growing up? Is there anything that motivates you to start a business as well, or to start an entrepreneurial journey? And what motivates you back then?
Yeah, well, I'm just 24 years old, so we're part of that generation that saw life before the internet. All of our Saturdays just watching cartoons. We don't have internet yet. And then we are also the generation that saw the boom of the internet. We now have internet on our phones. We now have all of our games on our phones. I still remember those days na we have like the phones are just a new thing. Just a couple of people have it. So it is those things are what technically inspires this particular generation. With regards to our job with creating new tech in our startup, it inspires us in such a way that we know that when someone dreams of a technology, dreams of a product, they can really change how people live, how people interact with their fellow individuals, and what kinds of tools that will be available. So we saw, particularly on our end, we saw some of yung mga toys natin, our toys when we were growing up. And then right now that we're currently seeing toys that are typically robots and stuff. And you can see the boost in creativity, how important those toys are now, how they're actually molding the future generations. So so that they can be more tech adept than we are. Like, imagine if we have those kinds of toys back then. But the good thing about, again, being this generation now that we are in on an age that we can actually do stuff, that we can actually make the changes, we can create our own businesses to address some concerns, is that we knew life before technically technology, particularly in the Philippines. So we know that if we do things right, we can actually do change. We can actually make a difference on how Filipinos particularly will interact.
Yeah, super agree. And I think, but even though, you know, the some of great entrepreneurs are, doing a lot of good stuff here in the Philippines, I think we need more innovators and creators, right? So, and basically, I think you've been doing a great, some of great stuff at the back end, and then building businesses and creating some cool stuff. So, if you have any idea or any practical tips for those who are creatives entrepreneur or just getting started on their journey, what's your best practical advice? I think a lot of Filipinos, especially Filipinos, right? So they're not really technically savvy or business savvy, so to speak. So how do you change your mindset from being, just to uh, make ends meet, from being an entrepreneurial mindset from, right? So can you share a little bit about that, your insight?
Yeah, what I always say when entrepreneur, like when actually with that exact same question, like when they ask me like, how do you actually start doing it? How do you become an entrepreneur? What I always say is you just have to start small, think big, and then at the middle of it, you just have to scale up. I always say that the important
Mhm.
part of that saying is you have to start. You have to start to building on your idea. You have to start building your venture. The thing is, if you have an idea and you really believe it's a great idea, it's an idea that will change lives. It is your obligation to that idea to turn it into something real, to
Mhm.
turn it into something important, to turn it into something of value. It is your obligation to that idea. So the thing is, the mindset is there's not actually a
Uh-huh.
better time to be an entrepreneur in the Philippines than now.
Yeah.
There are lots of companies, there are lots of incubators, accelerators, there's a lot of programs, a lot of the people that you actually have on the show.
Yeah.
Those
Mhm.
people will definitely support you on your venture. The only thing that you need is to actually make time to build on your idea, to introduce those ideas to those people, and to see where it can go, to try and make effort so that you can start it, and then you can see where it goes. You have companies like, of course, what my startup is. You have companies like us, Kezar
Mhm.
Innovations, that can really assist you, and then assess your idea on what we can possibly do with it. With Kezar Innovation, just to give you a background about Kezar and what we do,
Yeah, sure.
is we have what we call we've built an ecosystem so that, again, like I said before, that anything that an innovator might need, it will be readily available for them. For example, we have 4 startups under the Kezar Innovations banner. One is Study Play. It's an educational toy company. So what we do is all of those technologies that are available in the West, in those first world countries, will be made available here in the Philippines. As to increase the Filipino kids' creativity and to make it
Mhm.
available for them so that their imagination would be nurtured. Another first startup is called Tracaro Sustainable Travels. It's the first and only sustainability ratings platform. So it we were our team created an algorithm to actually find the metrics and to standardize the ratings for sustainability. Now, the two things that I want to focus right now is those 2 startups that we have that can
Mhm.
easily assist any individual out there who wants to start their own venture. So one is
Mhm.
Kezar 3D. So Kezar 3D is a 3D printing startup. So it's one of the biggest 3D printing startup in the Philippines, and we currently own
Mhm.
the largest 3D printing facility in South Luzon. So what's good
Wow.
about
Mhm.
Kezar 3D is if ever you are a hardware startup, so you create prototypes. The problem is you don't have 3D printers because it's
Yes.
costly, the
Mhm.
maintenance is so high. You can just send your designs to us and we'll ship it nationwide. The good thing
Mhm.
about Kezar 3D is that we are about our cost is about just 1/4
Wow.
now. The
Wow.
reason, yeah, the reason
Cool.
why
Mhm.
we did that is because of the mission. The mission of
Yes.
Kezar 3D is to make 3D printing accessible to all Filipinos.
Uh-huh.
Now, a lot of people know about 3D printing. A lot of people are telling that it's going to disrupt industries. But the problem is,
The cost. Yeah.
very few Filipinos actually have a 3D printer. Very
Mhm.
few Filipinos even touched a 3D
Yeah.
printing object. So what our goal is within this year is to have our kiosks, our branches available nationwide. So
Mhm.
with Kezar 3D as a business, it's one of our profitable business right now, in just a span of 7 months, it was able to hit ROI.
Wow,
So
amazing.
yeah, yeah. So our
That's really good.
investors, yeah, yeah, thank you very much, man. And yeah, our investors are so happy, and
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna do our nationwide rollout this year. So
Uh-huh.
imagine, Jay, actually imagine, to all our listeners out there, imagine a future and where you can create your models, and then you just bring your USB to any SM, to any Ayala Mall,
Wow.
submit it, upload it to our kiosk, and
Mm-hmm.
then go back in 7 days, and then your prototype, your product will be made available. So that is the future that we're looking towards to with regards to Kezar.
Wow. And
Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, and another
that's really
startup
good.
that we have is what we call Kezar Atlas Technologies.
Mm-hmm.
So Kezar Atlas Technologies is our mobile app development company. So if Kezar 3D is for hardware, so Kezar Atlas is for software and for mobile applications. So the reason why we really want to talk about this for startups is,
Mm-hmm.
for example, you have an idea for a mobile application. We
Uh-huh.
can create your mobile app both and launch it both for Android and iOS in just 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is we can
Cool.
create your brand, we can create your products in 60 days. And we have what we call, we're one of the most, we're, aside from being one of the fastest mobile app developers in the country right now, we're actually one of the most flexible when it comes to financing. Because we know naman a lot of startups doesn't have funding in
Yeah,
the
for
first
sure.
months. Yeah, funding
Uh-huh.
is a big problem for all startups.
Yeah.
So what we have in Kezar Atlas is what we call Startup Now Pay Later. So what does it mean? We create
Mm-hmm.
your mobile application, we launch it. You just have to pay for a down payment so that we know that you have skin in the game. We develop your app, and then 6 months after we launch your product, your application, there's no billing within 6 months. You can
No
focus.
contract.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we are gonna have
Okay.
a contract, but you
Mhm.
won't have to pay anything within
Wow.
6 months. So
Wow.
the good thing about it is you can now focus on business development, because usually, you know naman,
Marketing, yes.
yeah, on marketing stuff, because usually the problem with mobile application
Uh-huh.
startups is the chicken and egg problem when it comes to funding. You don't have investors because you don't have the tech, but you don't
Uh-huh.
have that because you don't have funds. So the good
Mhm.
thing about our team with Kezar Innovations, again, we built this company as to assist Filipino innovators, Filipino entrepreneurs. We'll create your product for you. We'll create your mobile application for you in one of the fastest, the shortest amount of time. And then with 6 months, you don't have to pay anything. You can focus on building your brand. With the
Mhm.
7th month, now the payment comes in. But the good thing about it is you can actually spread it out. It can be on 12 months, 24 months, or 36 months payments. So the good thing about this, it's gonna create, you have your own, you have your money maker, but you can pay it in installments. So that is our way to actually support the Filipino startup scene.
Wow. I
That's
think
well.
that's
So we
really
have Kezar,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah. So we have Kezar 3D for hardware
Uh-huh.
and Kezar Atlas for software. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, I'm just curious, Edward. So, for those who might really interested on this type of thing and would like to try it out. So, what's the best way or the requirements for them to apply with all those things that you've said?
Yeah, with regards to that one, they just have to send an
Uh-huh.
email to our team. Just email us with the ideas that you
Mm-hmm.
have. If you have some designs, again, we can meet with you
Wow.
so that we can
Cool.
actually see where it goes. Again, the first thing, you don't have to pay anything. There's no consultation
Yeah.
fee. Again, what we always say is there's only a few people in the Filipino startup community. Might as well help each other. So we're gonna
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
there. We're gonna give our comments and
100%.
suggestions on what
Mm-hmm.
we should do. And then if you're really sure that you want to build it right now, and you're gonna tell me, Edward, I wanna build this. I'm sure that it's gonna make a difference. I'm sure that a lot of investors will be coming in. I'm sure that a lot of users will enjoy my product. Then no problem. We just have to sign a contract, pay very small. You're gonna be surprised in how
Mm-hmm.
small the down payment is, so that we know you have skin in the game, and then we start developing it, and then after 60 days you'll have your product. After 6 months you'll have your own brand. So again,
Yeah,
the
that's
process is you
really.
just have to send an email to kezarph@gmail.com.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's really amazing. And for sure, I will add that links for all those listeners that who might really interested on that. And I think this is really cool, right? So if you
Yeah.
love what you are doing or want to help other people and just helping other people or solving another problem is it's really great. And don't forget that everyone are like Edward and the startup communities are really keen to help everyone else, right? So the best thing is to get started, and I think it will start in a small act and just reach out, and then
Yeah.
it will create big opportunities, right? So Edward, I will for sure add that links or the email ad on the show notes below. So I'm just just to go back with your journey, you creating a lot of amazing stuff and the startups and these things that you've mentioned. Uh, I'm just curious, right? Right. So everyone, I think I get this a lot of I get a lot of questions about this. There are things that really unexpected when doing some business or creating a startup. So can you share your biggest mistakes back then as a startup entrepreneur or startup founder? I think a lot of people's are really confused right now because it's a booming community or it's a booming opportunities. Can you share your uh, if you like to share your mistakes back then and how do you overcome those or what did you do to overcome those things?
Yeah, well, there had been a lot of mistakes, but the idea, those mistakes are technically your learning paths.
Uh-huh.
That's gonna help you
100%.
in the future. But one thing that I really like to share is actually not with my current startup. It was one of us. It was a startup for
Mm-hmm.
Kezar Innovation. So that was my first startup that I co-founded. It was called Philippine Innovators Incorporated. Um, and what we do then was to create prototypes for corporate clients, for individuals. We create
Mm-hmm.
prototypes for them. So new technologies, we create designs, we fabricate it for them. So one
Sure. Mm-hmm.
one thing that has been very much challenging for us, so Innovators Incorporated back then was a service startup. So
Uh-huh.
one crucial mistake that you can have as a service startup is getting more clients than you can actually cater.
Mm-hmm.
If you so there was this
Yeah.
time, I just want to share that story. There was this one time that we were at it was we were getting a lot of clients because it was deadlines for a lot of projects. So we
Uh-huh.
have it's a mix of academic and corporate clients that we cater back then. And then we were so excited. The company, of course, we are a company. We want more clients to come on board. We
Yeah.
were we were so excited to finally have those tractions. So the revenues coming in, we were s- we were so happy with the traction that we're getting because we're
Uh-huh.
having clients with the multiple
Mm-hmm.
schools. Now, what happened was our engineers said that, yeah, Edward, we can uh, we can do it, where we
Mm-hmm.
can we can finish all of those for all of those prototypes. Just get as much client as we can so that we can solidate, we can lessen down the costs. So what happened then? Again, I think it's very much obvious is we
Yeah.
it's one of the hardest months of technically of
Ah.
everyone that was involved in my previous startup.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the hardest months of our lives simply because we know how important those prototypes are, and we know the importance of submitting your promised products on time to your clients on time.
Yeah.
So but the thing is, we have very much limited resources. There's only
Mm-hmm.
so much employees that I have then. There's only so much equipment that we have. But we were so blinded by the revenues. We were so blinded by the trust, by the traction that we were getting, that we didn't ask ourselves if we can really do it. So of course, easy mathematics can say you the capacity of your products, but again, some things with regards to developing prototypes will go wrong. So when that
100%.
happened to one of our clients, and then the next clients of course, it's gonna be pushed back, and then everything went bad for that round. The good thing about, again, so that brings us to the context of not getting more than what you can offer. So be very careful in taking each client. Make sure that you can actually fulfill everything. So how again, like I said in the beginning, what are the learnings that we had from that? With Kezar Innovations right now, the new startup that we have, we've been in business for 1 year. I can proudly say that we've never missed a deadline.
Yeah.
The reason for that one is, of course, if you're gonna be missing deadlines, then why bother putting in the dates? The reason why you put deadlines is because you have to make sure that everything will be carried out by that date. Because you have to respect your client's plan, your client's schedules. With Kezar Atlas, even though we have very limited time right now, imagine 60 days for a corporate mobile application. Imagine just 7 days for a prototype for 3D printing for Kezar 3D. We've never missed a deadline, simply because we now know how important that part of the business is. So we now choose all of our clients. We are now very much careful on what services we promise our clients that we're gonna be delivering, and we're very much careful on planning each and every activity that we have every single day.
Wow, that's really cool, and I think that's really valuable for those who for those aspiring startup founder, and I think thank you for sharing your your journey on that part. And I always said this: find better clients, not more clients. For those, for every creatives that I encounter or ask questions from me, because a lot of us, or especially a lot of Filipinos, are looking on the marketing side, on the sales side, but it always should balance on the fulfillment part, like what Edward said. And you see the journey on that, right? You see the problem on that, right? So thanks, Edward, for sharing that. And let's jump ship from another question. So for those who I think you've been doing a lot of cool stuff on the back end. I'm just curious, what's your typical day as a startup, as a CEO? Can you share a little bit about that for our TDLS audience?
Well, yeah. As the Kezar CEO, so what a Kezar CEO, as the Kezar CEO, what I do is technically on business development. So I look at all of the industries that are that are existing right now, particularly in the Filipino context, and I'm always looking at ways to inject innovation in each of those industries. So given the tech that we have, Kezar Innovation has, so how can we improve those industries? How can we create technologies for those industries? So those are my typical questions in everything that I do. Now, the typical day to day, it starts at around 6:00 a.m. So you wake up and then you start reading on the news. You have, as a startup founder, you have to be always updated with the latest technology news, the latest your job, to make sure that you are you know the latest, for example, laws, regulations. You might be creating a technology that is illegal, so you don't want that. So it's very important that So so my typical, so it starts at 6 with a breakfast, and of course learning the news, searching the web. And then I'm usually in the office at around 8:00 in the morning to start to browse some emails to see how our relationships with our clients are going, some dates that needs to be fulfilled, some emails that need to be sent. And then by 9:00, the company, Kezar Innovation, office hours now begins. So we typically start our day at Kezar Innovations with a daily meeting. So what we do there is we take all of the employees, the whole Kezar group, and then all of the startups under the Kezar banner reports on their activities and what they're doing. So the reason why we have that every single day is the reason why Kezar is working well right now is because of the synergy that we have within our startups. So there's no double handling of the material. So if one department is doing this, then one team doesn't have to do that. If a startup has this requirement and one startup can help them with that, then they can easily help each other. So that's the reason why those morning meetings are very much important.
Yes.
Then then after the morning meeting, again, I just want to add this. It's very important as a startup founder to know everything about your startup. It
100%.
seems obvious. Yeah, it seems obvious, but the thing is, every single detail, you have to know about it. Not because you want to micromanage, but because you have to have an idea. You have to have the big picture. As being the one who plans the future of your company, you have to have a very detailed idea on where you are right now. Because you can't start planning for the future if you don't know where you are right now. So that's how important our daily meetings are. Then after that would be usually meetings. So I didn't mention this earlier, but Kezar Innovations, our office is located in Batangas. So we're located in the south. The reason why we put our office here was because we believe that there will be a tech renaissance in the Philippines within the next couple of days. And I believe personally that one key factor there is those areas that are outside Metro Manila.
100%.
So we are now bringing focus to particularly here in South Luzon. So we want, because here in South Luzon, you'll be surprised. I think the idea is there's so many great engineers here. One of the best, some of the best engineering students are here. Some of the best creatives are here. Some of the best mathematicians, coders are here. And again, most of the spotlight is always in Metro Manila. So the idea of Kezar Innovations when we set up base here is that if we do well, if Kezar Innovations do well, then some of the spotlight might be focused on South Luzon, and this whole ecosystem in the south will now have the support that they need. Now, again, with regards to, so after the meeting, what now happens is we go to Metro Manila because most of our clients are there. So we want to assure them. We want to give them we always give them the status of their mobile apps, of the systems that we're building, the loyalty cards that we're providing them. We want to make sure that they are very much at ease with the services that we are providing for them. Because on Kezar Innovations, you're not just buying the particular product you're paying for. You're paying for peace of mind. You won't have any problem with the product you're getting, as long as we're gonna be together, as long as the contract stays, you won't have any problem with that particular project. So that's what we're saying. So we go to our clients and then we talk to the individuals that wants our, of course, we're talking to a lot. We have meetings with a lot of startups that wants their mobile application made, because most startups doesn't have their own in-house mobile app developers, so might as well outsource that to us. And then usually our day ends at around 10 o'clock, because our last meeting usually is around 9 o'clock in the evening. These are the times that we are having dinner with multiple startup founders. We want to be in touch with other editors and other writers, because one recommendation that I would say to the startup founders out there is to find time and make time to meet other startup founders. Not just to broaden your reach, but because you learn so much from them. You're working on different industries. You're not competitors. Even though if ever you are competitors, you're gonna learn so much to each and every individual, to each and every startup employee, startup founder that you will come across. So after that, then it's 11 o'clock. So we have to go back to Batangas after that meeting. So we at around 11, and then the day we wake up again at 6, and the day goes again, and
Rock
the
and roll
important
again.
is to create value every day. So we're
Yeah.
happy about that.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Thanks for sharing that. And I just want to highlight about, the in the part that you've mentioned, meeting other entrepreneurs or startup founders. I think that's really valuable, and I've learned that before, 8 years ago, right? So I think networking is really a big factor when it comes to learning new things. Not only building new relationship, meaningful relationship, but also learning as much as you can on the in the other creative professional or entrepreneurs or startup founder. That's really valuable, and hopefully a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs should apply that as well. And I know that's hard, right? So if you are not a socially inclined person like me before, I'm so shy, right? So but there's a lot of things that you can try. Let's say you can build a podcast, to interview a lot of
Yeah.
great people like Edward. So it's been part of my journey as well, on the podcast, meeting a lot of great people. And I love, and what I love doing this podcast is to learn or share a lot of values as well on the community. It's a two-way two-way
Yeah.
a two-way thing when you started that, and you
Yeah.
will be surprised how meaningful it is, right? So
Yeah,
thanks. Mhm.
actually wanna spend this time, Jay, to actually thank you for doing this
Yeah,
podcast. I know that a lot of startup founders, a lot of technopreneurs are looking for this kind of podcasts, the thing that addresses specifically the Filipino setup. We
hmm,
really, like, when we were learning about what you're doing here in this podcast, we were really surprised, and we really thank you for doing this. Like, with regards to the aspiring technopreneurs out there, like, listening to this podcast is technically the same thing as meeting them personally, because you know
100%.
that you get to learn their stories, you get to ask some of the questions that, oh yeah,
Yeah,
this is a good thing, this is their experience. And I really commend you, Jay, for doing this. Thank you very much. This means a lot to the
yeah.
Filipino tech community.
Yeah, thanks, man. It will never be possible with all the great guys that I interview, including you, Edward. So thank you so much for dropping by on the podcast and swinging by. I know you're doing a lot of stuff on the back end, and I think we need more people who like to share more value, and then and their journey and their mistakes, right? So more vulnerable founders, or I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I assure you that I'm the hardest worker in the room. So
Yeah.
that's why I try my best to you know reach out to every entrepreneur or creative professional or creative entrepreneur like Edward, to
Actually,
share
Jay,
the
I
community. Mm.
yeah, I really think that's it. That's exactly it. What you just said. That's beautiful. The thing is, what on my end, what I always say is, you just have to have progress every day. You just have to create
100%.
value every day. You don't have to be the smartest guy. You don't have to be the richest guy in the room. As long as you
Yeah.
know that your idea has progress. So so the question is, oh, did I do something for my startup today? Did I
Mhm.
create like something worth 24 hours of my life? Did my idea improve than yesterday? If the answer is yes, you're doing so good. Your idea will be something someday, and you'll be surprised with the progress that you made after what, a couple of
Absolutely.
months, a couple of years.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, man. And yeah, before we wrap up the show, so for those who, I think you shared a lot of value in this podcast episode, and for sure they learned a lot of great stuff, and as well am I, right? So before we wrap up the show, I don't know if I should ask this because you shared great insights as well. What's your best practical advice for those startup entrepreneurs, or for those startup founders, or for aspiring entrepreneurs that are just getting started? What's your best practical advice for them?
Well, my best practical advice technically is just start doing it. It doesn't, like, if you have you're an aspiring technopreneur, and if you're just gonna be saying it that I have an idea, I just wrote it in a piece of paper, that's how it has been for the last couple of months, then you're not doing something about it. Again, what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, if you have an idea, you have an obligation to actually turn it into something profitable, to turn it into something valuable to other people. So my advice would be to see your idea, assess what you have thought of for the year. So the idea should be this, the idea should be that, and then write it down. I don't know if it's going to be on a notebook. I use a notebook. It's very
Yeah.
much
Mhm.
it's very much it's better than putting it down in a phone. That's, you have that sense that you're writing something. It's really good. Or you can just put it in a Google Docs.
100%.
It
Yeah.
varies. But the thing is, now you start adding ideas to it. You now start putting in some plans. You now go to the complex stuff, the business plan, the business model. This idea, I'm building it for whom? This idea, who will be the audience of this? Who will be served? Who will be the serviceable people with this kind of service, with this kind of technology? So the good thing about listing it down is that you know that it will always add up every single day. Again, what I always say is,
100%.
you have to
Yeah.
create value every day. You have to add up to your idea every day. So, like, most startup founders have part-time jobs, but the thing is, you might think, oh, my startup should have this service pala. I should add this. I'm gonna write it down, and then you'll be surprised. Like, don't. My idea is, don't let it be just The problem is, if you don't write it down, you're gonna forget it. So you should put it down. You should write it down. You should type it down, and then you'll be surprised. So basically, what I'm
100%.
saying is, assess it, write it down every single time, find time to actually summarize it, and then to create it. And then when you think this is something valuable, the next step is to talk to people about it, because you want to get other people's perspectives about it, improve it again, and then start talking to the individuals who will support you. You can start talking to Kezar Innovations. You can search up, you can send us an email, you can search our website, you can ask us any questions. We'll be there to help, even for funding purposes, even for mobile applications, for hardware designs. We'll be there to help. And the good thing is, it's not just Kezar Innovations that's out there. There's a lot of incubators and accelerators and supporters that are generally waiting for you.
100%, right? So thank you so much, Edward, for swinging by into the podcast. And for those who really interested to learn more about your startup, what's the best links, or what's the best way that they can reach you out?
Okay, so we have our own website on www.kezar.co. So that KEZAR.co, and then you'll see all of our businesses out there. But the best way to actually reach us is through Facebook. You can search Kezar PH, or you can just search Kezar Innovation. So again, that's KEZAR Innovations at Facebook. We'll be there. We currently have one of the largest. We just surpassed 100,000 about it. So be part of our community there.
Congrats.
And then you can, again, email us through Gmail at kezarph@gmail.com. So that's KEZARPH@gmail.com.
So that's it, Kezar.com. So for those who are listening, for TDLS audience, I will surely put all the links or the email address on the show notes below. If you're listening to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, it's also available on any of your favorite podcast app, like SoundCloud, iTunes, or whatever you are using right now. So you just scroll down below, and I will surely put all the links on our show notes below, and hopefully you'll learn a lot of great stuff as well. So am I, with Edward. And once again, Edward, thank you so much for dropping by on the podcast, and I really honored to have you on the show. You're really doing a great job, right? Thank you so much, man.
Thank you again. Thank you.
And that's it. Thank you so much for listening to the Design Life Show. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. If you want to support the show, you can do so on Patreon. Head over to patreon.com/TDLS or go to thedesignlifeshow.com. And you can find the donate button on the top to learn more on how you can support the show. And for some cool extra stuff, you can get an access to my private contents like AMAs, where I take questions exclusively from Patreon subscribers, or check out other stuff I made where I talk about essentialism, design, creativity, and business. I give a lot of value into this podcast that can't be seen anywhere else online. Again, that's patreon.com/TDLS. Thanks for listening to the show and talk to you guys again next week.